Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network, Sunday, April 17th. Happy Easter for those of you celebrating that. Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, Vito back with us as well as he is on the weekends, and we are ready to break down a Sunday NHL card. 6 games on tap on this Sunday. Again, that's pretty much been the bare minimum we've seen on a Sunday the last several weeks, which is good news for hockey fans and bettors. We do have these bigger Sunday slates than we did earlier in the season. Before we get into that, let's get into yesterday a little bit, recap a huge, massive 14-game Saturday NHL slate. Lots of interesting matchups. Let's give Vito and I, give ourselves the old Barry Horowitz, the old pat on the back here. It was a really good day with our plays yesterday. For me, it was just a terrific Saturday overall. When you look at it, I'll just run them down quickly here, what we were looking at yesterday in terms of the betting card for me. We did take Detroit, puck line and money line small against the Rangers. Bad call. Good job by the Vito talking like in the Rangers there. They took care of business against Detroit. In that one, I was on Pittsburgh, Boston over. That fell short. But then the rest of the day, Chicago, Nashville over winner. St. Louis money line winner. Minnesota, St. Louis over winner. Best bet on the show yesterday, Vegas. It was probably the worst bet I had all day. The Vegas Golden Knights with that 4-0 shot. That's the one thing that pissed me off. Was I thinking about that I had a good Saturday? No. First thought in my mind was, damn, that best bet lost, and it was a miserable bet. It was a miserable choice by me to go with Vegas in that game. That's what you are as a bettor. You dwell on the negative sometimes when you should be thinking of the good things. But give Edmonton credit. 4-0 shutout win there. I had Buffalo money line, Buffalo team total over, Buffalo and Philly over. That cashed. I took Toronto, Ottawa over the total. That cashed. Washington puck line, Washington team total over. That won. Tampa team total, Winnipeg, Tampa over. Both of those got there. Dallas in regulation, Dallas team total split with those two. Dallas won, but they only scored 2. Calgary first period, which was frustrating because they didn't have a good first period, and then they absolutely just trashed Arizona the rest of the game. But the -2.5 puck line got there. Arizona, Calgary over got there. New Jersey, Seattle over cashed. LA in regulation cashed. So it was just a really good Saturday. Just overall in terms of thoughts, Nashville beat Chicago. They needed to get that win. Chicago, good effort. I don't know about you, Alex. I thought that was a better effort from Chicago than I thought, considering coming off the euphoria and emotion of the Pat Foley night. I thought they'd be flat as a pancake, but decent effort from Chicago, even though they fell short, and a big 2 points for Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. And we start with that game. I mean, that was a fun one to watch. I reposted the GIF that's been shown countless times. Some fan clearly said something to Patrick Kane, and as soon as he scores a goal, goes and skates over and just gives him the old stare down, kind of shakes his shoulders out a little bit. I think it was one of the better celebrations we've seen. We've seen a lot of great ones from Patrick Kane over his career, but that just shows you that this team, despite the bad losses they've had, as a collective group, they're not giving up. Mentally, they're still in it. It just depends on the night and the opponent. And obviously, a rivalry is a rivalry. Yeah, sure, Nashville is going to be in the playoffs. They've played much better than the Hawks over the last few years, but let's not forget, in the heyday with the Hawks, when they won those cups 2010, 2015, it was the Hawks that were, beat Nashville, the famous Marian Hossa, penalty that led to the Patrick Kane getting the overtime goal in 2010, the emergence of Scott Darling in 2015, and the comeback in Game 1. So this is a rivalry. It doesn't matter which team is in or out. And you like to see that from this Hawks organization moving forward. You want those guys like Kane and others to kind of show that, hey, you know what, let's play 82 games, no matter how bad or good the season's going to be. And we've talked about this with a few other teams. We talked about it with Buffalo. They get another win after being down 2-0 in the first period. There's some teams that still have a little bit of life left, and you can find some spots here and there to bet on them in the next week and a half.
No doubt. Buffalo is one of those teams out of the playoffs you don't want to be betting against right now, because they've given you that great effort here down the stretch, no question. Whereas Winnipeg, Vito, we talked about it yesterday. Florida, pretty much that win lost to Florida, it's finished. We said that. I said yesterday that was a season ender for Winnipeg, losing that game to Florida, whatever faint playoff hopes. And I was worried about how they respond. Credit to you. You'd like them to score in the first period. They did that.
Yeah. Well, talking about Winnipeg, I mean, I like just sometimes to bet on the teams when they have played the night before, because I sometimes see the first period they are very, very with big energy, but then
Yep.
late in the game they kind of fall off.
Yep.
Most of the teams. Well, yeah. And anyways, well, talking about the rest of the games, I think one of the best teams in the league at the moment. If you just look at the Rangers, I know they have played some weaker teams like Philadelphia and Red Wings, but still 4-0 and 4-0 both games. They're not really playing down to the any team level at
Not
the moment.
anymore.
So I think
Yep.
it's a very great performance from them. Yeah, and that Blues and Wild game, won an amazing game there, and
Yes.
another comeback from the Wild. And yeah, I know you guys like Blues, so credit for you as well. Nice victory in overtime. I got over in that game. And then, yeah, if we move in the night games, uh, Colorado Avalanche and Hurricanes. Colorado just got that 2-0 early lead. And then, Hurricanes was all about the attack, and there were so many empty gaps and old man rushes, and Colorado just scores some chances like those. And, Flames 9-1. That I had that in parlay, yeah, with Rangers. I don't do much parlays, but, on a night when it's 14 games, I think you can find maybe 2 games which you can actually parlay sometimes.
This time of year, it's okay to parlay a little bit more because you got
Yeah.
massive favorites. What are you going to do? You got to cut them down.
And the favorites swept the board last night. So parlay players probably did very well last night.
No doubt. What, 14-0? Is that what I saw? I saw that correct.
In the chat. Yeah.
They did.
Yep. That's it pretty much.
That's it pretty much. I'll just last thing about yesterday, then we'll get on to today. You can bet against Winnipeg, I think, every game the rest of the season and do pretty well, I think it's toast for them. Soon as things go downhill, like they had a nice little start. They had a 3-2 lead even in the second period. And then once the game got away from them, there was some quit in their game. You could see it. It's just that's what happens with teams that just, they get the knockout punch. They're now not going to the playoffs. And I think Winnipeg's probably good bet against the rest of the way. And it goes without saying Arizona is. This team is just absolutely they cannot compete with anybody right now in the National Hockey League. They've got an AHL roster when you're missing Jacob Chikrin, your best defenseman, Clayton Keller, your best forward, Lawson Krause, who's had an outstanding year, and you don't have the depth to replace those guys. And the players that are taking those spots can't play the kind of minutes that are required at a high level. You're going to have a night like that. And they've had multiple nights. That's 6 straight losses for Arizona, Alex. That is 6 straight losses by 4 goals or more. So that's why not only the puck lines do what I did last night. I took -2.5 with Calgary. I even sprinkled a little -3.5, and I said it on the show at +250 with Calgary last night because not only are they losing, they're getting beaten down right now.
Yeah, and for those who are keeping track, if they go 1, 4, and 2 the rest of the way, I hit my exact prediction from the beginning of the year of their record. So
yep.
Well, my best bet with Dallas Stars yesterday, actually, again, a close game like
typical Dallas, right? Sweat
typical Dallas, but they get it done 2-1 at home, so it is what it is. It's a victory.
It is what it is. Hey, you won the bet. That's all that matters. It wasn't pretty. It was a sweat right till the finish, but you won the bet. That's all that matters in the end. All right, we've got the Sunday card. Let's get to it. We will start with the Florida Panthers. By the way, I forgot. I'd be so pissed if we get through this show and I didn't mention this about yesterday. Obviously, the Mike Smith was terrific. 2 shutouts in a row. Do we buy into him? Is this just another one of those classic Mike Smith blips where he has a few decent games in a row and then it's back in the old shitter again, and he starts scuffling and giving up goals and bad through the 5-hole and not tracking pucks and bad rebound control and the usual with Mike Smith when he's not playing well? Or can he sustain this? That's the question. I'll throw that out to Alex and Vito. And the second thing I want to mention is Carolina. Not only the loss, but the injuries they suffered. Multiple injuries. Jordan Staal, is it going to be serious? Is it going to be a long-term injury? Their captain, who's had a great season. And the other one is Freddie Anderson. And we know his history with injuries. He's had a pretty healthy season for the most part, but gets hurt late in the game. I think he pulled something. You could see just the way he moved backward and definitely kind of pulled something. It didn't look good. He had to be helped off the ice. So not only lost the game to Colorado, and they haven't been playing their best hockey, Carolina, the last 2 weeks, but Jordan Staal, their captain, gets hurt. Frederick Anderson, their goalie, gets hurt. Wow. I mean, you talk about Carolina, some major concerns here developing, Alex, for this group right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And losing Freddie Anderson at this time could be crucial for them, obviously, because goaltending, obviously, we always say it's the X factor in the postseason, but especially with how tight everything is in that Eastern Conference. And, everything's settled as far as the teams, but positioning, I mean, the New York Rangers still have a chance to possibly win that division. And you got, obviously the log jam in that first wild card spot and Boston. So there's a possibility of teams kind of flip flopping around between divisions before the playoffs begin. So yeah, that just throws everything in limbo for a Carolina team that seems to be, when fully healthy, they're one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous team in all the league. So you do not want the injury bug biting you at this time. As far as Mike Smith goes, we were joking about it before we went on the air about how long can this last? But you look at his numbers; he is 7-1 his last 8 starts. He's won 5 straight. Obviously, the back-to-back shutouts. But like you said, at 40 years old, he's only the seventh goalie in NHL history who was 40 years of older to get a back-to-back shutouts. It just seems, like he's due to lay maybe another egg or two before the playoffs roll. But if he can keep even just a semblance of this streak rolling, you're not going to post a third straight shutout, in my opinion. Honestly, I would probably fade him next start. But if he can keep this kind of momentum, whatever he's doing in the last, 2-3 weeks, and kind of keep that form and that rhythm going, well, that's what Edmonton's going to need if they're going to try to make a run and at least win a series or two in this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit, I got to absolutely give him the credit that he deserves. He's been great, these last few games. But with Mike Smith, just when you're always ready to buy in, there's that clunker in that game where he gets pulled and he gives up 5. Always lurking and right around the corner, just when you're starting to think, wow, this guy's playing great hockey in net. So that's what I always come back to with Mike Smith. And again, the injuries for Carolina, just very unfortunate when you look at that last night and how that ended up transpiring, no question. And regarding Vegas, obviously that was a tough loss when they just had a great game against Calgary. You come back, you get shut out by Edmonton yesterday. I mean, the road for them has got to be catching LA, at this point, because I think there's a better chance of doing that than catching Nashville or Dallas. I know they're actually still only 4 points behind them. And actually after last night, they're, I think, 3 points behind LA for third. So they can get in either one of the wild cards, Vegas still, even though they're 4 back, or they could go catch LA, who they're 3 behind. And actually, instead, Nashville and Dallas, Vegas has played one more game than those two teams. Whereas with LA, Vegas actually has a game in hand. So I think it's actually more plausible Vegas can catch LA. They're 3 points behind LA compared to being 4 points behind Nashville and Dallas. But here's the issue, guys. LA's got a Sisters of the Poor laden schedule the rest of the season. I mean, this LA schedule, it's an absolute joke who they're playing down the stretch. I mean, they couldn't have scripted this any better. I mean, if they basically paid the schedule makers to gift them an easy schedule, guys, for the last several games, the schedule that they've got right now is probably the schedule that they would have come up with for this team. Anaheim, Chicago, Anaheim again, Seattle, Vancouver. I mean, Vancouver's the toughest game. Are you kidding me? That's the Kings' remaining schedule. So if this team doesn't make the playoffs, shame on them. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, they deserve to miss the playoffs if they can't get into the playoffs with this Sisters of the Poor schedule they've got down.
On paper, that looks great. But then, like you said, if you mention those teams, all right, Anaheim, as bad as they've played, if they get up for anybody, it's going to be LA. That's a rivalry matchup. So they have that twice on a row. And I'm sure Anaheim knows the fact that LA's got a shot at making the playoffs. If they'd love nothing more to ruin their chances of that. Chicago's, we just talked about, it depends on the night. If they're feeling it or not. Same thing with Vancouver. Vancouver, the team that's out of the playoff race, why not try to take down a division opponent trying to get into the race? So there could be motivation spots for a few of those teams. Like I said, now obviously that means nothing if they aren't ready to play. They just aren't ready to play. But those two with Anaheim are definitely ones I would look for, because even though as bad as they're playing, and we're also getting close. Keep in mind to the final night for Ryan Getzlaf. So there could be some more elevated anticipation from the Ducks in those matchups against LA.
Yeah, well, guys, as far as I have checked the schedule, for me, if you check Nashville has the toughest schedule. If we just look at the opponents left, they will need to play teams like now Blues. They're gonna play. Then it's Calgary, Tampa, Wild,
Calgary again,
Calgary
Colorado.
Avalanche.
Wow,
And
that's brutal.
yes,
Wow.
that's a tough schedule. And then I
Very
would
tough.
in the next one would be Vancouver. They have some tough games, but they have some also easy ones.
Yep.
And then Kings I think has the the best schedule heading in the end of the season.
And keep in mind, you look at Dallas too. I mean, it's not exactly the
Dallas,
easiest.
They got a tough one. Yep.
It's pretty tough
Yeah.
for them being on the road for 3 games. But once they get home, you get Seattle, Vegas, Arizona, and Anaheim to finish the season. So 4 home games. Once again, against those, we're talking about Arizona, for sure a team they should be able to beat up on. Anaheim, Seattle. So those are points there that they can get as well and take advantage of having, like I said, that home stretch in the season. So it's going to be a fun one in the West all the way down to the West.
And these
Go ahead,
I just
Vito.
wanted to add also about this Vegas. Maybe what I also mentioned yesterday. I think now in the end of the season for the teams, it's kind of hard to play this Alberta games. Even with they are in race between. And Dallas, they're gonna have Alberta double in the next week, so that's gonna be a tough one.
Yep. And Vancouver still thinks they got a shot. So that Vancouver game, even for Dallas, won't be easy. So that's a tough. Don't kill yourself if you're Dallas. Don't just skunk out in those 3 games against Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary. Don't go 0 points and 0 out of 6 points in those 3 games. Just try to get 2-3 points. If you get that, you're doing 4 would be great. Anything 4 or more would be awesome out of those 3 games. But just try to get a point or 2 at the very least, Dallas, and don't completely get, like I said, skunked in those 3 games against Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary, and end up seeing if that'll go a long way to helping your playoff hopes for sure. Because as Alex said, you got that easier stretch at home to end the season. All right, let's go to Sunday's card. We got 6 games. We'll start with Florida, Detroit. Florida Panthers -360, road favorites, 7 the total in this one. This is an ESPN game, by the way, a scheduled ESPN game later in the season. They just added this to their national TV lineup a few weeks ago. I would have picked something else, but nevertheless, Detroit, 4-0 loss to the Rangers yesterday. They could not follow up that big upset over Carolina. Unsurprisingly, I guess you could say that's 1 game up, 1 game down. Sometimes you get that from bad teams like Detroit. Spencer Knight, by the way, in net for Florida today on a back-to-back. It was Grice yesterday, so expect Alex Nedeljkovic to be in between the pipes here for the Detroit Red Wings in this game. We'll see how it goes. I mean, with the Florida Panthers, certainly, they're playing great hockey. 9 straight wins, pummeled Winnipeg 6-1. In their last game on Friday night for their 9th straight victory. The Florida Panthers looking to extend to 10 straight games. They are definitely going to clinch the Atlantic Division first place, or the Atlantic Division title. They're going to get first place there in that division. Just a question of when they clinch it. They're 8 points ahead of the nearest team, Toronto, right now in the Atlantic. So Florida's playing well. I mean, certainly I think they're going to probably win this hockey game. I'm not stepping in front of them, but you're talking about -380, the puck line, the reg line's not really all that much value, and it's actually gone up. This line is about almost -400 now in some spots. Team totals 4.5. I could actually consider the 4.5. Florida certainly had no problem scoring goals throughout the win streak here. You got to get them to 5 here, but they're capable of doing that against Detroit. I lean that way. Florida team total over 4.5, and I lean a little bit to the over 7, but probably going to keep it small because definitely the odds makers doing what they should be doing, and that's putting Florida totals near this 7 because they're capable of scoring almost that much in every game on their own. Alex, what do you think here, Florida, Detroit?
Yeah, it's a pass. I was looking at the draw because if you take a look at this 8-9 game win streak for Florida Panthers, a couple of those games that went in overtime against New Jersey, close game against Buffalo, 3-2 win against Anaheim. We talked about how they've been up and down. So, you wonder Florida, okay, could they kind of be taking a little easy, road game, early start. But at the same time, they get 5 or 6 goals like they always do. There's no way Detroit's going to just hang around and come back. And we've seen Detroit get blown out multiple times by many margins this year. I think they've given up, they've lost a game by margins of 1 through 11 this season, which means they've lost games by 8, 9, 10, and 11 goals this year. If Florida's up for it, they could easily put, as many goals as they want, and they can kind of name their score here. So it's just a complete pass for me.
All right. Absolutely. Complete pass. I think that's not a bad option. -1.5, -145, by the way, is what you're looking at with the puck line on Florida. I would say if you like the puck line, skip the -1.5. Don't lay that price. Just take a shot, maybe -2.5, like I did with Calgary. Get a better price last night. Get a better price and see if Florida can maybe win this game by 3 or more against Detroit. That's certainly they've got the schedule advantage too, with Detroit playing a matinee in New York yesterday, traveling back home. Florida a little bit more rested, playing Friday night their last game against Winnipeg. Vito, what do you think here, Florida, Detroit?
Yeah, for me, here's also actually no bets. It's a completely pass. I can see this going over, but I also can easily see this going under if just Florida maybe tries to play like more of a playoff hockey, like try to win this 4-0, 4-1, 5-1. That could go under 7 easy. I don't see them. Maybe Detroit's putting up many goals here today. Because the Panthers are rested a little bit. Only third game this week, first on the road. Maybe they're not don't come out completely flat. I don't know. This is end of the season, so it's hard to guess now how what will Florida do. So yeah, for me it's also a pass. But I think it's a great game maybe to play live. So you never know. Maybe Detroit actually comes out and scores. So you get some value then on Panthers and so on. But if you want to bet Panthers something before the game, I mean, I think you can try to always target that first period. There's where you're going to get value. But the Panthers to score 2 goals, maybe, over 1.5, or just to win the period, something like that.
Yeah.
I will mention one quick thing, though. Ian, you touched on about Florida, they're on the verge of clinching this Atlantic Division. And we already saw Colorado clinch the Central Division last night. Those are 2 teams I might want to look to fade once they do clinch their division spots, because that's when they might give a few guys some rest, some starters some rest. Obviously, we end up seeing the backup goalie. So keep that in mind with those teams. I think there's only maybe 3 or 4 teams that really could clinch the division this week. Calgary probably being another one as well. Keep an eye out for the game after they clinch to see if maybe a top line guy gets a healthy scratch, or a backup goalie, or different things. Just the fact that the team went out and partied, depending on what city they're in, and may not be filling up for that next game. So it's something to just kind of circle a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, certainly a lot of games you see it with the with teams that clinch a division, or clinch the President's Trophy, whatever the case may be, a big milestone. And the next game you see college free agents, or the college players they drafted in the lineup. You're giving them a look. Some more AHL call-ups, get a look in the lineup. So there is some truth to that those teams might be in bed against spots clinch the game after clinching a division title. So definitely good to keep an eye on that. Definitely prop-wise, by the way, Barkov to score, Barkov over shots. He's really good for that on the road, especially. Huberdeau's on fire. You can't say no to, looking at his direction right now. We've talked about how Mackenzie Weegar for weeks has stepped up and been more assertive offensively in the absence of Aaron Ekblad on that blue line. So there's definitely some Florida props I would consider. Yeah, Nedeljkovic was amazing, against Carolina. That's the reason they won that game. But we've also, I look back at his stats earlier this year, when he's shut out a team or given up a goal, he's given up usually 3 or more in the next start. So, that's the issue. And it's not so much that he plays bad, but he's got an unreliable overall blue line composition in front of him. And
stats never lie.
Struggling. Yeah, I know. So that's the thing. I mean, because I just noticed someone saying Detroit's goaltending has been better lately. Yeah, 1 game it was. And that was against Carolina. So let's see if it can be good again today. And look, you're playing a juggernaut.
Now we have Panthers coming in.
Yeah, exactly. With a great offense coming in. Buffalo, Philadelphia. Philadelphia Flyers -115, favorites, total 6.5. I'm hitting the same damn bets I did last night in the Buffalo-Philly game, even though it's in Philly this time. I still don't trust Philly. Philly's not winning. Philly actually got it off to a great start, and they still, screwed it up and at the end and blew the lead, and they ended up losing 4-3 to Buffalo last night. I just think Buffalo's a much better team, and it's not being priced like it right now. I'm on Buffalo again here, -105. I don't care about revenge. Screw revenge. Philadelphia's not playing well. They're not winning games right now. Buffalo's the better of these teams, in my opinion. Sabres -105. We'll go with that. We're going to get right back on the team total again, like I did last night, 3.5 +120. I like that price, and the full game over too, because you're talking about 2 teams out of the playoffs. You didn't see a whole lot of defensive intensity last night in the game. Why should things change here with these 2 teams here in this matinee affair this afternoon? Actually, late afternoon affair. It's a 5 p.m. Eastern start here. So Sabres money line, Sabres team total over 3.5 +120, full game over 6.5. The exact same 3 bets I swept with last night. hopefully we get the brooms out here again. Alex, what do you think? Sabres Flyers.
Well, I'm going with the same bet that I had last night, which was first period over 2. It was plus 125 last night. We get 2 goals early from the Flyers. Like I said, there's not really much defense to be had, but for some reason we just did not see a third goal. So we end up taking the push. We'll take that money back and throw it right back on here. It's at plus 115 today, over 2 with the Sabres and Flyers.
All right, over 2 in the first period here with Buffalo and Philadelphia here for Alex in this game. By the way, keep in mind it's going to be probably Dustin Tokarski on a back-to-back for the Buffalo Sabres, and it looks like they're going to give the not the young kid. He's not actually that young. He's 25 years old, but looks like Felix Sandstrom is going to get another start for the Philadelphia Flyers. And of course, we saw him just recently in the net against the Rangers, April 13th. That game earlier this week, he gave up 3 goals in that one, in that 4-0 shutout loss. So we might see Felix Sandstrom once again in goal here for the Flyers in this one. Yeah, first period, both teams to score. Velu in the chat saying that's something he's looking at. I wouldn't talk you out of that. I think it's possible we get 1-1 in the first period, no doubt. Vito, Buffalo, Philly.
Yeah, looks like this game was profitable for everyone yesterday. Because I think everyone liked Buffalo, everyone liked over. So yeah, I was on that over 6. So that cashed me. I just had the smaller unit there. So yeah, I'm not going back there now today anymore because just don't want it. I think I already cashed it yesterday there with over 6. Yeah, these teams just don't not improve. Yesterday the stats were bad for them, and today they're also bad. In April they're on 5-on-5 they're like minus 10 goal difference. For both of these teams, and they have scored like 20 goals almost and allowed 30 goals. So they turn the puck a lot of over. We saw that yesterday. They're careless with the puck, Usually there is 3 forward players and the center back is only coming back behind them, So there's also a lot of odd man rushes. So just because of that, I think there's again will be a lot of scoring chances. And in NHL, all players can score, So I totally understand if everyone is going over. But well, I today for myself, I'm just staying away.
All right, staying away from this one. Hey, sometimes I will say this. Sometimes I'm one of those people that bangs the drum of 2 games in a row, same 2 teams. First game goes over, second game stays under. I do sometimes think there's some truth to that, and vice versa. First game goes under, second game in a row, same 2 teams, it goes over. But I don't see it with these 2 defenses or these 2 goalies, quite frankly, if it's indeed Tokarski and Sandstrom in net. So I'm back to the well with the Buffalo trifecta, if you will, a money line team total over and the full game over in this one. All right, San Jose, Minnesota next up. Minnesota minus 280, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. The ABC cameras during that Blues Wild game earned their money yesterday because they caught a glimpse of Marc-Andre Fleury on the bench there trying to sing or karaoke to DMX Party Up in Here, and that was pretty damn funny. I got to admit. Great job by them catching that. What a wild game, no pun intended, the Blues and Minnesota yesterday. Back and forth it went. I was not very happy the moment it got to a tie game there, 5-5. I mean, the Blues just led most of the game, and Minnesota wasn't going away, though. And a couple of bad plays with the puck, mistakes, bad penalty killing for St. Louis in the third, let Minnesota come back. But they rescued themselves in overtime. Braden Shen with the overtime game-winning goal in a crazy game. Back and forth, 6-5 win for the Blues. Huge win. Very important point, though, for Minnesota. Even though they lost the game, that keeps them still very much in that battle for second in the Central Division with the Blues, which is important because second place gives you home ice in the first round of the playoffs. So this is a very big game still for Minnesota. We know that because of just how incredible the XL Energy Center is in terms of an advantage for the Minnesota Wild. We know the home record there again this year has been, 26-9? Absolutely outstanding on home ice. So this is damn important for Dean Evison, for all the players to try to get this home ice advantage in the first round. So this is an important game. I think they can take care of business here. Minnesota, San Jose. San Jose's on a back-to-back, but they had their back-to-back last night against Dallas, 2-1 for their 9th straight loss. It's just that's what you get here with San Jose. I mean, their offense is hit or miss. More than anything, they've not been able to get their defense or goaltending to play well. Now, last night they did, but you know what Dallas is like sometimes. They get a couple goals, they park the bus. And so I don't want to make too much of a big deal. Oh, San Jose defensively much better last night. No, they're going to be challenged here by Minnesota, a team that can light up the lamp, especially on home ice. Marc-Andre Fleury obviously confirmed as the starting goalie because Talbot got the game yesterday. So no surprise we see Fleury here in this game. We'll see who's in net for the Sharks, either Reimer or Kakinen. It's worth noting, too, injuries are mounting for the Sharks. Obviously, Dumba, Greenway have been out for a while for Minnesota, but Carlson's out now. Gadjevich, Ryan DeZingle got hurt. Barabanov got hurt just recently. LeBanc is on IR. So there's some issues with depth now for the San Jose Sharks, and that's probably why they've lost 9 in a row. When you don't have quality depth to replace injuries, you're going to struggle. I don't trust the full game over because I don't know if San Jose is going to light the lamp necessarily here. And Minnesota's been good at home defensively lately, much better. And Fleury in net, I think you'll see him probably play well. I'm going to trust more on Minnesota getting the job done offensively. So 2 bets for me here. I'm going to go with the puck line on Minnesota, -1.5 even money. And what I like even more in this game is the team total. Minnesota over 3.5 here. You can find that at about -135. Pretty decent price. I think Minnesota absolutely gets 4 goals here at least against the San Jose Sharks. So I like the puck line on the Wild, but I like even that team total even more at over 3.5 at a solid price, -135. Alex, Sharks, Wild.
Yeah, yesterday, again, I was frustrated with myself because the last time Blues and Wild met, I had to draw. And I figured it would be kind of a close game because both teams needed the points. St. Louis blew the doors off of them. Yesterday, I stayed away from that play and thought I had the right move, considering how St. Louis was dominating for the most of the contest. And then Minnesota, the comeback kids, they've been calling them all year, once again make a great comeback. So, like I said, it was important for them to each get a point. Obviously, that big second point going to St. Louis. So now they stand atop in second place with 100 points. So basically, the Wild just need 1 point in this game today to officially clinch a playoff spot. But they definitely want to. This is a spot. This is a team that they've dominated against. They've won 4 of the last 5 meetings with the Sharks. As you mentioned, they've lost 9 in a row, having a ton of injury issues. And it'd be interesting to note if Kaapo Kähkönen does go for the Sharks, that'd be obviously him playing against his former team. Sometimes that can be a bit troublesome. So I don't want anything to do with a full game total. Obviously, not looking at any kind of sides with this high number. I like the first period over 1.5. I laid $1.35 with that, and I might look for some spots in game with this contest. But I don't want anything to do with that full number, especially if Kähkönen plays, because he's going to be amped up. He'll still probably give up a goal or 2, but he might be a little amped up playing his old team that got rid of him, where it looked like, hey, he was going to be sitting, on the bench for a playoff run, and now all of a sudden he's making golf tee times and travel plans playing with San Jose.
Yeah, I would have thought too, Alex, like you, that we'd see Kähkönen here today, but the problem is he started last night. For San Jose against Dallas, which surprised me, which makes me think maybe we're not going to see him here against his former team. We'll see Reimer instead. And they've got Reimer projected, not confirmed yet, but projected to be, which is shocking to me. I don't know what the boogeyman's doing necessarily. You usually want to put the guy that played for that team at one point in net on a back-to-back against that team.
Unless it's it's kind of a dummy move. He's going to play him back. I mean, the guy's young. It's healthy at the end of the season. Yep. He could play in a back-to-back spot. So maybe they're doing that to maybe not show their hand to Minnesota necessarily.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Very interesting goaltending decision awaiting here for San Jose, considering Kähkönen played last night when we thought he'd definitely get this start against Minnesota, but maybe they do go and roll back-to-back with Kähkönen. We'll see later on in the day. Vito, San Jose, Minnesota.
Yeah, well, you see Minnesota, as we talked also yesterday in April, they have very great stats. I mean, not that they're just dominating like expected goals, but also, 5-on-5, they have scored 25 goals in 8 games. That's a great stat. I think that's more than 3 goals per game. And you add a power play goal, and that's 4, allowing only 10 goals. That's also great. And if you just look from the Sharks are struggling, cannot find the scoring. Although if we check on the lineup, we still see Hertl, Meyer, and Jonathan Dahlin. They can score. And then Bonino, Logan Couture, and Rudolf Balcers. That's the guy from Latvia. I used to play together with him also for some
very good. A year. Rudolf Balcers, yeah. And he was with Ottawa before, yeah.
Yeah, I played with him 1 year together. Also in one line, he was a winger and I was a winger. All right. And
how'd you do?
Back to the game.
How'd you do as a line?
Well, good. We were playing in a third line. So we did good together. I mean, he was very good, but then he went to play to Austria already. He left the country early, like you should always do. And then he went to Norway, and then to NHL. All right.
Quite the
But
journey
about the
to get there.
game, I think Wild will get the scoring here. So over 3.5. Sign me up for that, and I already have betted that as well. I think we definitely see Wild getting here to 4 goals today. But one more interesting bet from me, and just I put it a half unit on it, a little bit more than half a unit. I think again it's just a great price, and it's nothing, not much asking from Sharks. Maybe two Sharks over half a goal in the first period. I can see them maybe scoring one since both teams played yesterday. They might come out early, like there might be hype earlier in the game, And we have seen Fleury giving up early goals in Minnesota lately. So why not at -130? I can take also a sprinkle on Sharks over half a goal in the first period.
Hey, his first period over half a goal for a team total worked out with Winnipeg last night against Tampa Bay. So going back to the well with San Jose, maybe to strike in the first period and get on the board in this one as well, like in Minnesota, as I do, the team total over 3.5 here in this one. All right, great matchup. It's probably that probably is the game of the day, probably St. Louis and Nashville. Even money, -110, both sides, 6 the total in this game. Although it's moving to 6.5, and I totally understand why that is. This Blues team is on a just an absolutely terrific run offensively. Now, overall, they've won 8 in a row, but the offense during this 8-game win streak, it's been something to behold. 6 against Calgary, 5 against Zona, 4 against Seattle, 4 against Minnesota, 6 against the Islanders, 4 against Boston, 6 against Buffalo, 6 in the victory in overtime against Minnesota yesterday. Who's not performing at a high level right now offensively for this team? Shen Tarasenko's just a man possessed at the moment. David Perron just keeps on piling up goals, piling up points. Robert Thomas is having a breakthrough season, has been outstanding for the Blues. Jordan Kyrie's buried on a third line right now, which tells you how much the Blues have it going offensively right now. Wait till Jordan Kyrou gets back on the beam again. I mean, very impressed with St. Louis. The power play's been clicking. They've been scoring at 5-on-5 even strength. They have great offensive depth up front. I'm not stepping in front of St. Louis. Do I want to take them today? I did take them yesterday. I don't know if I'll take them today, though. This is big for Nashville. They're at home. They've played good hockey at home lately, the Predators. They're still trying to cement their playoff positioning. And it is worth noting, St. Louis does have a pretty bad long-term track record in Nashville. That does worry me a bit. So this could be one of those spots where they're dangling St. Louis out there as low as -110 on this wonderful 8-game win streak, that this could be the spot where they get tripped up and the streak gets snapped. We'll see. Problem is, David Riddick might be the goalie that has to end that win streak for St. Louis because Saros got the start yesterday. Do they go to Dave Riddick? Big save Dave? Sometimes it's big sieve Dave. A lot of the times it is big sieve Dave, not big save. So we'll keep an eye on that. Jordan Binnington probably for the Blues after Husso got the start yesterday. And Binnington's played a little bit better. He's won his last 2 starts against the Islanders and the Sabres. But stopping Nashville, keeping them off the scoreboard in Nashville is going to be a different task altogether. And with the way, Johansson and Duchesne have had bounce-back seasons, Forsberg's been good lately. They're getting Jeannot and some of their depth forwards stepping up, too, for them. It's going to be a much taller order for Binnington in net in this game compared to his last 2 starts. I like the over. I've already bet it. Over 6. The juice is moving on it. It's up to 6.5 in some spots. If it ain't broke, don't fix it with this Blues team. They've been scoring in bunches. Their games have been going over. And we'll see if ride it once again here today against Nashville. Alex, St. Louis, Nashville.
Yeah, this is one I played the draw at +345. You look at these two teams. Like I said, St. Louis has had a horrible track record in Nashville. They've lost 11 of the last 13 meetings down there. Both teams played yesterday. And you look at Nashville, they've played some tight games. That 4-3 yesterday against Chicago. A pair of games going to overtime, earlier in the week. So these two teams have played tight against one another. We've seen 4 of the last 6 meetings decided by 1 goal, with 2 of those 4 going into overtime. And Nashville playing some close, tight hockey. And that's the way they kind of want to play. They want to try to slow things down with St. Louis. And obviously the defense is going to be a little bit sharper and try to be a little bit sharper in front of David Riddick if he is the goalie and that starts today. So at 345, this definitely feels like it could be one of those games where we see this one, go into overtime at a good price for a draw here.
I like the draw too. I might sprinkle on that myself, actually. When you look at it, 2 of the last 4 Nashville games have gone to overtime. 3 of the last 4 Nashville games, 1-goal games. St. Louis, each of their last 2 games in the division, hotly contested games against Minnesota, both went to overtime. And this is going to be another divisional matchup. Points are very important for both teams right here. The draw is definitely a good consideration, I think, as well in this game here, Blues and Predators. Vito, what do you like here, St. Louis, Nashville?
Yeah, I was thinking about this game also a lot today, and I was thinking about exactly what also Alex said. After I took over, and I was starting also to think like, of course, there's a big possibility, that after a back-to-back game, teams will not want to come out and like play the open hockey, and have back-to-back chances. So you need to work a lot, especially having backup goalies in. That doesn't always mean it goes over, because teams want to limit those chances, especially like these kind of teams. They kind of play similar hockey, also. Well, yeah, kind of similar hockey. They love to put pucks down below deep. I mean, the thing that scares me, is this just the stats. I mean, sometimes, and these are 2 completely opposite stats we're looking at now. Blues are not the team which actually carries the play, as we talked yesterday, and they're not the best in expected goals. But when it comes to scoring, 30 goals in 9 games, and that's only 5-on-5. So that's an amazing stat, and and they just keep getting that and getting that, And now they're playing today against Nashville, and I see them again to do the same thing, if Predators will lack a little bit a little bit lack of defense, for the Predators. Again, the stat is different. They're more carrying the play. They are pretty okay on expected goals, but when it comes to scoring, they have scored only like 12 goals in 8 games. That's 5-on-5. So they can't slow the game down. So it's very hard now to understand, if this game goes over or under, because it can actually go both ways. But yeah, I'm on over 6 here. I thought it was a great number when I took it. It was at plus 100. And I also had in my book, I had Blues over 3. That's what I took also at plus 100. Basically, I get the money back if it's 3, even if it's 4. but it's in regulation. But well, yeah, my look on the game, it's very hard. Yeah, but I have went with over.
All right, I agree with that. I think over is a good play, and I think the draw, like Alex said, also worth a look here in this one. All right, Islanders and Leafs. Leafs, Toronto minus 210. Home favorite, 6 the total in this one. I did bet a small over 6. Other than that, I think this game's very tough from a side perspective. Islanders are playing, they're another one of those teams out of the playoffs, not playing like they're out of the playoffs. They're playing hard every night. Split with Pittsburgh earlier this week. They beat Montreal, spoil Carey Price's big return night. However, they did get badly outshot, badly outplayed. It was more Ilya Sorokin was outstanding in that game for the Islanders. But the Islanders are still they're finding ways to win, at least some of the time here down the stretch. I'd expect Sorokin in net. He's projected, not confirmed. We do know it will be Jack Campbell in net for Toronto after Eric Kallgren got the start for the Leafs last night in the comeback win in overtime against the Ottawa Senators in that game. Really, this just to me is just, Toronto is one of those teams right now. They, especially against the weaker teams, they give up goals. We saw it against Ottawa last night. They give up 4 in that game. Buffalo scores 5 against them. They've got a real pattern of rising up to the occasion, raising their game against the great teams, and then kind of like falling asleep a little bit against the weaker teams. They kind of did it against Ottawa again last night, even though they escaped with the win. I worry about that. And really, it shows up at the defensive end for Toronto. They play the weaker teams. They're not as dialed in defensively. You look at this team from a total standpoint. What are they? They are 8-1-1 to the over in their last 10 games, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And only one of those games has had less than 7 goals. One of the last 10 Toronto games has had less than 7 goals. That's it. So that's why I'm on the over. It's really nothing other than that. The Islanders aren't exactly an over 6 type of team. I get it. But Toronto is, and you don't get 6s with them very often. So Islanders, Leafs over. I'm passing on the side. Alex, Islanders, Leafs.
Yeah, it's a complete pass for me because I was looking actually at the under, to be honest, with the series history between these two teams. And Sorokin, from what I'm seeing, he was in the starter's net for practice, so
Yep.
he seems to be confirmed. So
Yep.
you got a good goaltending matchup and a series history that's trended to the under. Into Toronto. I mean, look at that game. Obviously, going into overtime against Ottawa. Once again, we talked about how some rivalries, no matter how good or bad team A or team B can be, they still, are always tough battles. And Toronto and Ottawa battle each other tough, no matter what time of year it is. So coming off of that, like I said, the thing is Toronto's defense has been the thing to not show up when playing weaker teams. It'd be one thing if they had the offense rolling and sorts. So that's one I'm just going to stay away from altogether. I wouldn't be shocked to see this one in 3-1 Leafs. I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe the Islanders win this one in overtime. It's a lot of variables here, so I want nothing to do with it.
A lot of variables. It would be honestly sidewise dog or pass, but I opted to pass. Like, I don't think plus 180 is a terrible take with the Islanders right now, with especially Sorokin. And that's the one thing that, if you like the under, that's a good reason why you like it. Sorokin has been very good, obviously, lately. The shutout against Montreal, he was brilliant. Now, I know he gave up 4 in back-to-back against Pittsburgh, so not as good there. But before that, 1 goal allowed, 2-2-2. I mean, he's been really good for a long period of time for the Islanders, and that's why he's been the man in net for them. And, we'll see if Toronto sometimes, again, they fall prey in these games against weaker competition. See if they avoid that tonight. Vito, Islanders, Leafs.
Well, yeah, well, the only thing which concerns me, I think, is the back-to-back for Toronto. I think it's off a travel, It's not always that easy. But overall, if we just look a little bit at the stats this month, I mean, look, I understand maybe first of all, Islanders being on the road for a long time, then they came back, play Pens, and now they're again on the road. So whole April, Islanders being on the road. I expect maybe little regression by the end of this road trip. By the expected goals, they became now worse than Chicago this month. But yeah, as you mentioned, Sorokin been playing well, and they just now win Canadians, which which is not a team which carries much play. And now they're going to come in against Toronto. Toronto, which is a team which is always pushes at home, at Scotiabank Arena. Well, and the only concern again for me was that Toronto on the back-to-back, but I still think Toronto will have more pressure in this game than Islanders. But just because here's many angles, as you see, guys, when I'm talking, some back-to-back for Toronto, and they can just lose this game somehow, like because Toronto they sometimes lack this focus on the defense, and I think that comes from the back-to-backs and when just you losing the focus. So I haven't placed my bet yet, but I would agree with Ian. I think we see the Toronto put up some like 4 goals today, and just I think Islanders putting also some goals up here.
All right, last game on this Sunday card. It is Columbus and Anaheim playing for exercise. The Anaheim Ducks minus 140, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. This is dog or pass for me. In fact, I might be on the dog, even though it's back-to-back for Columbus after losing in L.A. last night. Anaheim minus 140, no, there's no way I'm laying that with this team. That's just 2-8 in their last 10 games. It's coming home off a long road trip as well. 4-game trip through Philly, Carolina, Florida, Tampa Bay. And look, I think it's also a tricky spot for Anaheim because they actually played, they gutted it out in those 3 games against those, tough teams. We talk about how that trifecta in Florida, Carolina, and Tampa is very difficult. They battled Carolina tough. They took Florida to overtime, although that was more Gibson just being out of this world good in that game more than anything else. And then, of course, with Tampa Bay, they actually blew the lead, lost in overtime. That's a lot of hard-trying, exhaustive effort hockey for Anaheim on that road trip. Now you're coming back home in this game. I think it's not a good spot at all for Anaheim. It's not great for Columbus because it's back-to-back, but the LA to Anaheim back-to-back is not a big deal. There's no flight. There's no air travel. You're just taking a bus down the road, and you actually stay in the same hotel. So it's basically a very easy trip here for Columbus to Anaheim. I think this has to be the night you see JF Berube. You've got to give Merzlikins a rest already. If you're Columbus, you're wearing him down. He's played a bunch of games in a row, and it's sort of hinting toward JF Berube finally getting a start here for Columbus in this game. And actually, he's played better than I thought, in some of those starts recently. Has he been great? No, but I thought he was going to be downright awful and he's actually been a little bit better than that. So I would only look Columbus here, plus 120. John liking the team total. I wouldn't argue with that. I like that, actually. Columbus over 2.5, minus 140. And I'd probably lean to the full game over 6 as well. Don't trust either defense. One thing Anaheim can do with Terry and Zegras, and we saw it on that road trip, score goals. And their offense actually wasn't that bad on that road trip, Anaheim. So they could find some offense here against Berube and this Jackets defense. So I like Columbus a little bit, plus 120. The team total I really like, over 2.5, and I'll probably bet the full game over 6 here as well. Expecting Berube versus Gibson, the projected goalie matchup right now. And look, Gibson was amazing against Florida in his last start. That was the only good start he's had in a very long time. He's going to have to show it again to me here tonight. Alex, Jackets, Ducks.
Yeah, I already bet over 6. I got minus $1.10. Like I said, this just feel like one of those games where they just kind of roll the puck out and see who can score the most. But one interesting trend I've noticed, one they mentioned with Anaheim, they played tough in those last 2 games, back-to-back overtime games. But then looking at the series history, we've seen 5 of the last 10 meetings go to OT. And if you look at the last 5, 2-1 in overtime, 3-2 in overtime, 2-1 Anaheim in regulation, 4-3 Columbus in regulation, 2-1 Anaheim in a shootout back on December 9th. So these are 2 teams that play each other tight no matter what's going on. And the fact that, like I said, it's not going to be a defensive battle if it is Berube and Gibson. If anything, we're going to probably see some offense. So I like the draw here at plus 345. I like the over 6. And if you go to our sponsor book, DraftKings, you look at the regulation score, you can get 3-3 at 12-1. So plus 1,200. If you want to try to combine those, basically you're looking for the over and the game to go to overtime. So that's something to maybe sprinkle a few bucks on as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's not bad. 3-3, very plausible, very, very conceivable score going into be after regulation, no question. Vito, Columbus, Anaheim.
This is the last game, right? Or no?
Yep, last game.
Yeah. So I guess that we're gonna end this on a great note, because I also took over in this game. But I guess because of the time zone, I woke up today early and I had this 5.5. So I grabbed that one. I just thought, opening up, I'm gonna see 6, and I open up, I see 5.5. That was an auto lock for me, I just, first of all, why? Because of the Columbus just been playing much games, and who's gonna be in net? I don't know, Berube or Merzlikins. Columbus have scored 15 goals and allowed 16 goals in 7 games. So basically, but that's 5-5 stat. So that's basically over 2. A game plus add some power play goals, and it's gonna be a back-to-back. You don't know who's gonna be in net. Then you look at Ducks; they have scored 17, allowed 18 in 7 games. So Ducks close to 3 goals. So this game easy can see here over 5.5. The teams, especially Columbus, are being over back-to-back, lacking some focus on the defense, and overall, Ducks is a young team. Trevor Zegras, Milano, all those guys, they just want to play some hockey, pass the puck. End of the season, maybe get some goals. So I think that both teams give some space to each other here today, and we're gonna see at least 6 goals in this game.
Vito liking the full game over here as well with the Jackets and Ducks. All right, that's your Sunday show right there, your Sunday card. Great stuff with Alex B. Smith and Vito on this Sunday edition. We'll wrap it up with best bets in just a second. But before we do that, a reminder, DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL, and great sponsors here with THPN and the Ice Guys. New customers bet just $1 on any NHL team, get $150 in free bets if they win with promo code THPN. Get involved with that. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, new customer, you can still play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contest. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team. Get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. Best bets to wrap up the show. Alex B. Smith, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go to the Buffalo-Philly game. We're going to go first period over 2. You get that plus $1.15. should have hit yesterday at plus 125. You got 2 quick goals from the Flyers, and then things just kind of tapered off. Obviously, Buffalo's offense needed some time to get rolling. It did in the second and third period, and that's why I ended up getting the 4-3 win. So I expect, especially with the backups, Tokarski and Sandstrom in net, we're going to see some goals here early and often once again, but we should be able to get over that too. So let's go with Sabres Flyers. First period over 2 plus $1.15. That's my best bet for today.
All right, Buffalo, Philadelphia over 2. Best bet first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. All right, Vito, best bet.
Yeah, well, for me, definitely today the bet which stands out would be that Minnesota Wild over 3.5. I think after losing that game yesterday and scoring pretty a lot of goals at the home arena with all the hype, I think they will get to the 4 goals against the Sharks.
All right, Minnesota Wild team total over 3.5 minus 135. Best bet for Vito. My best bet, St. Louis, Nashville over 6 minus 120. Riding this Blues offense and this over streak of theirs, I think it gets there today. Nashville more than capable, and we could see Binnington versus Riddick as your matchup, and I think that will contribute to more offense on both sides. We'll go with St. Louis, Nashville. Over 6 minus 120 for my best bet for this Sunday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Vito, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.